This video will show you how to add more attributes to your attribute table. So we're going to learn three different methods. We're going to learn how to just manually enter the data. We're going to learn how we can use the field calculator, and we're going to learn how we can use the calculate geometry tool. So to get started editing our attribute table, we're going to open the table and determine what we want to add to this. The first thing that I want to add to this attribute table is who the township supervisor is for each of these townships, so that we know who it is. So to add a new field, we simply go to our table options, add field, and then type in the name of the field, and I'm going to call it township but abbreviate it, and then underscore sup for supervisor. Now, you cannot have more than 13 characters in a name for an attribute table, and you can't have any spaces in the name. So if you even take a look at the ones that we see here, there are no spaces. Underscores are used in lieu of spaces. After you select the name of your new field, you have to tell it what type of data that you're putting in that field, whether it's going to be a number, a text, a date, or so forth. So let's go over what each of these means. A short integer is a whole number from negative 32,000 to positive 32,000. A long integer is anything outside that range, but it's a whole number, and that's the key with both of these, whole numbers. So things that would be whole numbers would be population, because it's not like half of people or things like that, or a zip code would be an integer because it's there's no decimal places. So anything of that nature would be in the integer category. Float and double allow for decimal places after for as many decimal places as you might need after the decimal point. Float allows for 7 places after the decimal point, and double allows for 14. So it just depends on how precise that you want your numbers to be. You would use either one of these for things like acreage, square mileage, and so forth, because we know they're never going to be whole numbers. So those are good selections for that. Text is exactly what it says. It's text like we see like with the township name. And then there's also date. So for this one, I'm going to be selecting text because the supervisor's name, it will be obviously text. And then you can select how many characters you'll allow in that field. And this is something not just to randomly accept, because sometimes there's no need for 50 characters, because sometimes in your field you're just looking for yes or no. Why have 50 characters for that when 5 would cut it? I'm going to keep it at 50 and then hit OK. So then if I scroll to the end of my attribute table, we can see that it's added at the end. So I'm actually going to drag this all the way to the front, just so that I have it adjacent to my townships, so that I know which township is which and which name that I'm putting with what. So now that I'm here, if I go to click my cursor in there and try to type, it doesn't let me do it. I have to be in edit mode to do that. To get in edit mode, we go to our editor toolbar, click it, and then go to editor, start editing, and then select the data that we are editing. And then you can simply type in the township supervisor's name. Now, I didn't do my homework of checking who this township supervisor is for each of these townships, so I'm making this up, but I'm actually going to allow myself to be a supervisor for one of them. And it's not letting me click in there. Let me just do that again. There we go. And so on. So you can just see how you can type in the values. Let's imagine that we finish all of these. What we can do is go to Editor, Save Edits, and then editor, stop editing, and we are now out of edit mode. And you have to get yourself out of edit mode or you're not going to be allowed to close the project or so forth. So it's just a good practice that once you're completely done, get out of edit mode and move on. Now that we set up a field, I'm going to show you how to delete a field, which is probably the easiest operation in attribute tables, and sometimes it's a little too easy. To delete a field, we simply select the field, right-click on it, and then I'll go to delete field. And it will tell you that this can't be undone, so you got to be really sure that you want to do this. And I'm very positive that I want to do this, so I'm going to click yes, and it's gone. So you can see how we added a field and how we can take one away. You also learn how to add information in there just by manually entering it. So that's the first method for adding additional attributes to your attribute table. There are other ways that are very simple, and these are more mathematical in nature. The first one that I want to do is I want to calculate the square mileage of each of the townships. So I'm going to create a new field called square mileage, or square miles. And because that's going to have places after the decimal point, I'm going to select double, and then I'm going to hit OK. And again, it adds it all the way at the end of my attribute table. Now, to calculate the square mileage, I can use what's called the Calculate Geometry tool. If I right-click and go to Calculate Geometry, I can add these values in. It says that I'm going to be doing this outside an edit session, which is fine. And it is asking you if you wish to continue, just say yes. And then it's going to ask you what property that you want to calculate. And you can calculate perimeter, you can calculate area, the x and y centroid of each of the polygons. But I'm going to just stick with that. And then you're going to be asked what units that you want. And I want square miles. And then I'm simply going to hit OK. And it calculates the square mileage of those townships. So you can see how easy that was to do, and you didn't have to do any math yourself, which was pretty awesome. It automatically calculated that for us. And the reason it was able to calculate that is because it has that coordinate system attached to it. So that is what's being used to calculate the square mileage. And I'm actually going to just, again, right-click on this and delete it, so that you just see how that is done. So that is the Calculate Geometry option. The final one that I'm going to show you is can be quite a bit of fun. It's called the Field Calculator, and it allows you to calculate values of all different types. Let's say that I want to know all the females that are from age 5 to age 20. I want to basically add up the values in each of these fields so that I have that, the number for that age range. Again, what I would do is add a new field. And actually, something I want to show you before I do that. If I'm in edit mode, notice that add field is grayed out. You have to be outside of edit mode to add a field. And that sounds counterintuitive, and I kind of think it is. So it is something that can get a little confusing at times. So just to be aware of that. I'm going to get out of edit mode again. So I'm going to add a new field. And I'm going to call it FEM_5_20 to indicate that I'm going to be calculating the females from ages 5 to 20. And I'm going to keep that a short integer because it's going to be a value between negative 32,000 and positive 32,000. And I'm going to hit OK. And now I can go to that field that's at the end of the attribute table, right-click on it, and go to Field Calculator. And again, I'm getting that ominous message about calculating outside an edit session, and that's fine. And then you get a calculator. So what you have to do is build the expression down here of what is females 5 to 20 equal to. So that would be equal to that plus this one, this one, and then this one. So that's my expression. I hit OK. And you're going to see that it populates that in my new field. So then, because I have that, that's, again, just a field that I can query. I can make maps based off of it. So that is an example of the field calculator. And I'm going to delete that so that you see how, again, to delete it. So again, those three mechanisms that I just showed you are the most common ways of adding more attributes to your attributes table. For some of them, especially the first way that I showed you where you're manually entering your data, you have to be in edit mode. For the other two, the field calculator and the calculate geometry, you don't have to be in edit mode.